Clay Jensen became the emotional center of the story, not because he was the worst person on Hannah Baker's tapes, but because he was the one who cared the most. Yet despite that, he carried the heaviest guilt. The truth is, Clay wasn't responsible for Hannah's death, but his heart wouldn't let him believe that. He replayed every conversation, every missed sign, every moment he hesitated, and convinced himself that if he had just done something more, she might still be alive. His guilt didn't come from his actions, it came from his empathy. Clay's pain was tied to the idea that good people are supposed to save others. He believed if you care about someone, you don't walk away when things get dark. And even though he did care, and even though Hannah never blamed him, Clay felt like he failed her simply because he survived and she didn't. He didn't hurt Hannah like others did, but he punished himself as if he had. That's what makes his guilt so haunting. It wasn't based on truth, but on love mixed with helplessness. He also didn't know how to process grief in a healthy way. Instead of crying, talking, or healing, he carried responsibility like a shield. He wanted someone to hurt for what happened to Hannah, and when he couldn't make others feel it, he made himself feel it. Clay wasn't guilty of causing her death, he was guilty of caring deeply in a world where it wasn't enough to save her. And because Hannah meant more to him than anyone else, he took on her pain like it was his to carry. What makes his story tragic is this: guilt became his way of staying close to her. If he let go of the guilt, he feared he'd be letting go of Hannah too. So he held on to the weight because it was the last thing he had left of her, even if it was slowly breaking him. Clay didn't understand that loving someone doesn't mean you're responsible for fixing all their broken pieces. He thought love was rescue. Hannah thought love was understanding. The miscommunication between them became a wound Clay never allowed to heal. Every time he listened to the tapes, he didn't hear Hannah's story. He heard his own failures. In class, in his dreams, even in moments of silence, her voice became the echo he couldn't escape. He didn't ask for the burden, but he accepted it because it felt easier than admitting he couldn't change the past. That's the kind of guilt that doesn't come from doing wrong, but from not doing enough. And Clay was the kind of person who couldn't walk away. Not from the pain, not from the truth, not from Hannah. He stayed behind, stuck between memories and what-ifs. He visited the places she stood. He replayed the nights she cried. He held on to her like she might come back if he hurt long enough. His mind became a courtroom, and he was both the judge and the guilty. No one sentenced him, he sentenced himself. Deep down, Clay's guilt was also about control, because if he believed it was all his fault, then at least there was a reason. Blaming himself felt better than accepting the terrifying fact that sometimes people fall apart and it's no one's fault. Clay needed a villain to punish, and when he couldn't find one big enough, he chose himself. He thought sorrow was loyalty, that if he smiled or healed, it meant he was forgetting her. So he clung to the pain like a promise, but Clay didn't realize that guilt and love are not the same thing. You don't honor someone's memory by destroying yourself. And Hannah never wanted him broken. She wanted to be heard. She wanted someone to care. Clay did, more than anyone. Yet he couldn't forgive himself for being too late, for walking away that night, for not realizing how deep her pain was. He thought kindness should have been enough to save her. And when it wasn't, he felt like he failed at the one thing he was supposed to do: be there. There were moments where he wished he was the one on the tapes for something worse, because then at least his pain would make sense. Instead, he carried invisible guilt, the kind that doesn't leave bruises but leaves sleepless nights, the kind that doesn't scream but whispers, "You could have saved her." And when everyone else tried to ignore the tapes, Clay became Hannah's voice. He confronted people. He chased justice. He pushed until the truth came out. Not because he liked pain, but because pain was the only thing that made him feel close to her. Clay became the symbol of what it looks like when grief turns into responsibility. He was never trying to be a hero, he was trying to make things right. He believed that somewhere, somehow, if he fought hard enough, maybe Hannah would forgive him. But she already did. He just couldn't forgive himself. His guilt wasn't about what he did. It was about what he wished he could have done. And that's a different kind of heavy. So Clay carried guilt that was never his to carry, because he had a heart too big for a world that wasn't gentle, because he loved someone he couldn't save, because he thought being a good person meant never failing anyone, and because sometimes the people who care the most hurt the most, not because they did wrong, but because they refused to stop caring.